So, here's what we're going to do today. We are going to make a village. Now, this village technically exists. This is Canon Village, but there is no information about it, so we are able to create it in our own image. We are going to be making the little village of Lanfro. But yeah, this is Lanfro in Harrowdale, and we're essentially going to take it from... we're going to do some very distant history, and then we're going to bring it right up to date. And we're going to be doing this by taking it in turns. You can make little notes if it's helpful for you, but a lot of stuff we'll try and have on screen as we go, because we'll be altering a map. But this gives you an idea of the area that Lanfro is situated. It's as you can see, it's in the south of the Dales. It's just above the Coldfield, which is an area that was scarred by Dragon's Breath, so it's like flatlands scarred by Dragon's Breath. You've got the Dragon Reach, which is sort of a marshy river, sort of fjord turning into estuary. You've got the Woods of the Dales above, and the Harrow Ride, that is a trail that runs from Harrowdale Town, which has been renamed, unfortunately, just to be confusing. It's now New Villa. But at the time it was Harrowdale Town, and it runs from that up through the Dales. So that's some kind of important areas, and this is where we're going to build our village. Somewhere in the middle of that. Don't feel constrained by the fact that there's grass. That is just purely to have something background other than white. This is going to be whatever we decide it's going to be. The only thing that is technically present is the road. So, we're going to initially cover the ancient history of this little area before it was a proper village. And just so you guys know, because I guess I haven't told you too much, you can... within somewhat sensible things, like I don't necessarily want you to say there was a battle of robots or anything, but within the general sort of context of D&D, you guys are free to make up whatever you want at any point. It's supposed to be collaborative, so we're trying to sort of, you know, we can kind of build on what other people have done and whatnot as we go through. It'll get more like that towards the end, where we're collaborating. For the moment, we're just kind of thinking of some fun things for the area. So what I'm going to have people do is essentially, for this first thing, we're each going to roll one dice, and that's going to be, you're going to sort of be asked a question that you can answer it however you feel is appropriate. And I don't have an order pinned out, so does anybody want to be brave and volunteer to be the first dice roller? I can, you know, I can help out initially if you feel like you're too on the spot. It's not, there's no kind of right or wrong in this situation.
Roll initiative.
We could roll for initiative.
Yeah, sure. Let's roll initiative.
We got a 16.
I got a 2.
But yeah, we're rolling a d20, not like initiative for our character.
Yeah, you're rolling initiative for yourself, and I'd like to think that you'll have 0.
Wow, that's rude, but accurate.
I honestly think 0 is
Generous?
very generous for me.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
No, when I say 0, I mean 0, so minus 5. Yeah. No.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, I think legally, if any of your stats go to 0, you're dead.
Oh dear.
What it's worth.
Yeah,
So
better be your
Joseph-
modifier.
Legally,
One quick question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just before we get in, what modern the now times of the story?
Yes.
What year is that?
1489.
Perfect.
The time period we're doing right now is minus 3,830 to 1,300, so we're covering a long period.
Oh, wow.
We'll jump up to date with the next set of questions.
Cool.
James, roll me a d6. And you better not roll a 6.
Oh, you know how that goes.
I do.
Aha, 3.
Nice. Okay, so here is your question. So this is a nice starter. A prominent terrain feature is formed. What is it? This could be a volcano sprouts from the ground. You know, an ice age happens and covers. Just it's intentionally vague for the idea that if something springs to your mind, you can say it. And this doesn't necessarily, remember that this is during the ancient history period, so this could have come and gone, but it will essentially leave its mark in time. I don't know if that's enough for you, but you know.
No, it is. Honestly, I'm looking at the map right now, and kind of like what pops into play was kind of like a glacier.
Okay. Nice.
Kind of coming through and kind of like cutting through area.
Sweet, and that would kind of make sense with the more scaled out map as well, where we've got the kind of fjord to the what would you call that? The east? Yeah, the east.
Yeah.
Okay,
Using
so there was
traditional terminology.
yeah. So at some point during this time, there was a glacier that came through, and that has left its potential mark. It's just something to kind of have in the back of your mind in the future. What impact it could have had, we'll find out. Let's have... we'll go alphabetical. Let's have Angie roll a d4. Oh, natural 1. Natural 1. Okay, so this is an interesting one. A prominent figure passes through. Who and what were they? Now, you can give a name if you want. You can give a race if you want. You can be as mysterious as you want. It could be any kind of race or any kind of strata. I mean, it could be as big as a god. I mean, it could be pretty much whatever you want.
The god of glaciers.
He was pretty cool.
He just like rode in.
And this, I mean, that's an interesting thing. You could relate it to that if you wished, or you could figure that, seeing as this is a period of like 3,000 or 4,000 years, that it just happened at a completely different time. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to say why they passed through, just that they did. Do you want to go off the cuff, Angie, or do you want me to give Eli's question while you're thinking?
Give Eli's question. Let me think for a second.
Yeah, because these are pretty... these are a lot vaguer than some of the questions you get later, but that's part of the thing with them. So we've got essentially a 2 there on a D3. So Eli, a small community inhabits the area, but is no more. Who were they and why?
Who were they?
As you can tell, you can take that as vague or as detailed as you want.
We'll say that I'm just going to go with a community of... We'll go with a community of goblins that inhabited the area, but I want to say that they were... Stop me if I go too far. I'm going to say that they moved in after the glacier, seeing that as an act of the gods, and they wanted to stake claim on the area to inhibit the power that was left behind. Whether or not this was true, whether it was a glacier from the divine or the all-powerful or not, no one really knows, but they believed it in their hearts, so that's what they did.
Alrighty, nice. And they were staying to sort of try and quell that?
They wanted to get power from it.
Okay. And what? So, and they are no more. Do we know why they're no more?
How
Well, we
how
could-
far can we go on this?
You know what? Let's leave it a mystery for now, because you've sort of done the why of why they came rather than the why of why they disappeared. Maybe that will come up
Okay.
again in the future. We can see, or maybe it won't. That's part of the joy of it. That things can be open for people to grab onto, or to remain a mystery. Sweet, liking it. Angie, any thoughts?
Could it be a half human, half Goliath general?
Oh, okay, yeah, nice. Any other information about them? I mean, it could be a name. It could just be any interesting details.
Nope. That's all I got right now.
Okay, sweet.
They're I guess they could be dressed in full garb. You know, general attire.
Like full military.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sweet. Digging it. Spencer, you rolled a 1, so I'm assuming it's Phil.
I rolled a D2.
Perfect. A mythical creature makes its home close by. What is it? And I will actually give you a quick moment to think as well.
Yes,
And
that would be
I
good.
will drop Spencer. I'll drop your question, which is going to be, just so you can be thinking on it. A cataclysmic event shapes the area. What was it?
Can you, you said the cold field, so that was some sort of dragon that attacked?
Yes.
Like a dragon fire?
I couldn't find any information on the dragon, so I think that's open for us to ignore or embrace as much as we like. But yeah,
Okay.
apparently it was... I think it says it's scarred by dragon's breath, so it doesn't even technically say what, although it's called the cold field, so... My feeling is iciness, but I guess it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
I didn't even notice that when I mentioned a glacier. So
That is an impressive accident.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
could be the interesting thing. It could be called the cold field because of the glacier, and then the dragon's breath scarring had a different impact on it. All that we know
What about-
now is that it's flatlands that are scarred by dragon's breath.
What about something like, there was some sort of, like, undead,
Uh-huh.
and there's a lot of things, there's like a lot of dragon lore around here, and so like there's kind of like multiple interpretations of the past of like some people believe dragons were the enemies and like desolated this cold field, and that's why they call it Dragon's Reach or whatever.
Mhm.
But there's other people that believe the dragons were used for good to kill the undead, and that's like the cold field is like undead bodies. They called them, something like that.
Okay, I dig it.
Um,
And was the
So maybe,
the
like-
Great Rising of these undead the cataclysmic event, essentially?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like something was where people had to band together to fight these, and
Okay, sweet.
maybe over the years it's turned into like, oh, dragons did all this bad stuff, but they don't really know why. Maybe the people in this town kind of know the actual truth behind why the cold field exists.
Okay, I dig it. So I'm going to basically say a great horde of undead rose in the cold fields.
Yeah, and maybe that could link into, I don't know what timing wise, like the general, maybe that's why the general was there.
Yeah.
Because he had to travel, something like that maybe.
I am digging that very greatly. Any thoughts, Phil, on your situation?
Yes. I will piggyback on some of these other ideas and say that the mythical creature is in fact a lich. who styled himself as the Lich King. And he is the reason that there were issues with he's the one who brought the undead to rise.
Okay, sweet.
And was the reason there was the big fight involving the Goliath and the dragons and so on and so forth.
Okay, I like it.
Love a good lich.
I don't think he was a good lich, to be fair.
Oh, fair enough.
Seems
yeah.
like he was pretty bad.
Does he have any? Because he's this mythical creature. Does he have a name out, or was he just known as the Lich King?
He just called himself the Lich King because he was very much of the belief that by definition established him in the hierarchy above basically everything else.
Gotcha.
Like any other Lich was by definition less than him, so he didn't need a name.
People are saying I'm the best lich.
I have the best undead.
Let's say, so as far as location, I mean, really, like anywhere in this vicinity is pretty solid. I mean, especially that's near the coal field, so that works well. I mean, Landford really makes sense for a good base here. So, I would say probably, heck, I mean, he could be the reason the goblins are wiped out. He came and wiped out the goblins and turned them into his undead army.
Uh-oh.
Mm.
Undead
I like
gobos.
it.
Zomblins?
Potentially.
Ghosty goblins.
So what I like the idea of is I like that we funneled all these ideas together. I say that at this point we let that sit as history. So there's all these theories that we've all sort of put in about how these events might be linked, but current day people, how much do they know of that? Maybe we find out as we go along, and you know who's right and who's wrong, who knows at this stage, but that leaves like some sort of local legend for them to pull on. So we can already move on to our middle period, which is going to be the time of troubles to the spell plague. So that's going to be basically 1358 to 1385. So it's a much thinner gap, and this is kind of where the settlement begun to take hold. So this is where the sort of beginnings of this as its current village began to happen, and then the sort of more recent times after that, like the I guess the 100 years after this will be where it kind of consolidates more as a village, essentially. So for this middle period, we're going to do a very similar thing. So we're going to have five questions that we're going to split. So I guess let's roll initiative again.
Wait, initiative is just rolling a d20, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have initiative stats.
I mean, we can just... it's more fun to say initiative, but yeah, you're essentially just rolling a d6. I mean, a d20.
Wait, okay.
Another
I was going to say,
D6.
wait a second.
Don't roll a d6.
All right. Well, you've managed to nat 20 that one. Lucky you. So you're going to get first question here. And you'll kind of see by the nature of the questions that it's a little bit more related to what might be happening now. It might be a bit of a variety. But yeah, so roll me a d6, Angie, and do not roll a 6. Sweet. Okay, so for you, and the questions that we're answering now, it's obviously like where people are beginning to settle a bit more properly, but there's nothing to say that what you guys answer for these questions has to take hold for what the state the village is in now. So things can have happened and then gone if we so decide. So your question is, what industry is formed by a few local individuals? And so, like I say, yeah, this can be this is in this period of troubles. During this time, you've got like the gods come down to Earth and are fighting each other to amongst mortals, through to the spell plague, where the whole nature of the world gets ripped apart. So stuff that's happening here could take hold now and then be torn apart by more global events. But this is just things that have happened during this period. While you're thinking, I'm gonna get Eli to roll a d4. No, never mind.
Scratch that.
I'll take that roll for when it's your turn. I actually need Phil
Okay.
to roll a d4. I just realized.
I have my answer.
Nice. Tell us.
Pottery.
Hey.
Very nice. Sticking to type.
A lot of everyday pottery, but there are also some that like to dabble in doing more creative pieces.
Okay. So maybe it sort of starts as a necessity for
It's
for
first
being
and
able to trade out,
foremost,
and then-
first and foremost a necessity. Those that are very passionate about it do creative works as well.
Nice. Okay, sweet. Digging it. So I'm going to move on to Phil here. And what is a constant source of trouble for those attempting to settle? I mean, and I think we'll assume that in terms of like outright, like this is past the point where those great things of the past were happening. That's not to say that their presence can't come back up in some way, but like we're not in the middle of a full-on dragon undead goblin
sure.
war. You know what I mean? So
I would say that the area seems to suffer from unusually cold winters.
okay.
With the particular feature that causes most issue would be sort of almost like a freezing mist that settles on the land for sometimes weeks at a time.
Okay, I dig it. That would certainly be a problem.
Not good for your pots either.
No.
Not at all.
All right, sweet. So Eli, what are the first and second most prominent races that are beginning to try and settle this area?
Why does part of me want to say Dragonborn? You know what? I'm gonna say that Dragonborn. It's gonna be one.
Okay.
They will be the second most prominent race.
Mm-hmm.
The first most prominent race, we will go with a stubborn, hardy folk, the dwarves,
Okay. Digging
hill
it.
dwarves. They won't let the freezing mists stop them from their passion and their industry.
And let me ask you this, I guess, as you've defined that, did you want to... I know there are lots of varieties of Dragonborn. Do you want to hone in at all?
I would assume, yeah, it's going to be one of the metallic ones I'm thinking.
Let me throw this out to you as a possibility. Just looking through, in terms of... chromatic tend to definitely be historically just leading more towards destructive nature rather than creative. On the creative side, you could argue for metallic. They have a tendency towards hearth and forge, apparently. But also, gem dragons. Or gem dragonborn.
Ooh.
It says, theirs are the wonders of the mind, the force of will, the brilliant light of insight, and the resounding echo of discovery.
Ooh.
That sounds like a perfect fit for the history of this lands.
Now,
and so then,
I don't know much about them. Do they split again into 4
into
categories?
5. Yes, you
5,
have
okay.
amethyst, crystal, emerald, sapphire, and topaz.
I'm going to say topaz for fun.
All right, sweet.
Frickin' zombies.
Okay, that'll be an interesting mix. Now, these were the prominent races at that time that were trying to settle this area. If that's the case, continuing, we'll see. I feel like there'll probably be remnants of them, even if they're not the principal races as we go on. But it gives us something to sort of crunch into.
So, just looking at something to add to this, with the combination of dwarves and Dragonborn, just reading one thing here on the internet that says Dragonborn are practical and meticulous about their crafts. Like dwarves, they create items purely for artistic reasons, or they create few as purely artistic reasons. Basically being functionality and beauty. So is what that says. Now we don't have to go that way, but it's interesting that like there is that connection between like Dragonborn in general and dwarves in general.
Right.
So,
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, James, roll me a d6 and then divide it by 3.
Okay. I'm just gonna have to do math today. 3 divided by 3.
6.
All right. Let's see. What is my new... Sorry, we'd already had 1, 2, and 3, so it's being confusing that number 1 is number 4, but just roll with it. Here we go.
Okay.
What magical effects ravage the area during the spell plague? And whilst you're thinking... Whilst you're giving that... Oh, do you think you have an immediate?
Yeah, to be honest, because like with everything going on, like there's sort of seems to be a slight tendency towards the cold.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just sort of like the essence of like what's already happened around here with like, the cold field and with the glacier and stuff like that, just sort of the spell just tapped into sort of nature around and just like and talking about like with the winters being brutal and the mist, sort of like that element of it sort of just all tied together to really ramp up.
So sort of magical effects almost. Maybe that's having some residual... That's residually why the winters are as bad as they are. Like it's beyond just nature.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Does it have any other sort of noticeable... That sort of cold infusion, does it present in other ways that are, that sort of show up in a sort of magical way, like, rains blood or something random like that? Is there some, like, something that kind of happens at times that relates to it being magical and that flowing into it and just overpowering it?
Let me think about that.
Yeah, okay. I will ask Spencer his question. Alrighty, so here is an interesting question. You can answer this as specifically or as unspecifically as you want. Who is the first person to stake leadership over Lanfro?
That's fun.
Ooh. Okay, so is the thought... So this is a time that's... We're saying this is after, like, there was this battle, right?
Yes, this is...
So this is theoretically either very far past that or, depending on where the battle took place in that broad time frame, it could either be...
Yeah, it's probably...
a long time away.
It could be long or it could be relatively close, but still, have happened a while back.
Okay. Welcoming opinions on this, but what if it's a Dragonborn who, like, what if the dwarves maybe helped fight, like they were kind of more indigenous, I guess, people, and then the Dragonborn came because it was almost like maybe something spread between Dragonborn, like, hey, dragons helped save this, or this is like a holy spot or something, maybe not necessarily religiously, but like for that race, maybe they feel like this area was of some importance, and then that brought them together with the dwarves.
That sounds cool. So,
I don't know, something like
so almost
that.
like they
Sounds good.
felt like it had been almost blessed by the dragons, what the dragons did,
Yeah.
and so special
It's
to
like
their
the
Like
race.
maybe this was a
fields.
place. Yeah, or maybe they felt like they were more welcomed by these dwarves who had, heard tales of dragons being
Mm-hmm.
helpful instead of, something to fear, and so they were respected more than maybe some other places by the people who lived here before.
I like it.
I don't know who that would be, I guess, but
Dragonborn, one of the Topaz Dragonborn.
yeah, or maybe it's actually two people. Maybe like a dwarf and a dragonborn get together, and instead of having this like spread out, they decide to do something, together to make it a little more of an actual town. Like maybe they take these native tribes or whatever and pull them together into a town.
Sweet.
Maybe both sides work together.
I dig it. Do we have are they male, female? Do we know? What sort of combination do we think they might be?
Oh, do you guys have any suggestions? Do you think it'd be better like platonic? Like maybe
I envision
some sort of
two
relationship
males.
where they come together?
You envision two males?
Yeah, but I don't know. What
No, I'm open to whatever.
Any argument? Nope. Oh.
I think it's. I was kind of leaning towards two females, but then with the two males, maybe they both have wives that their wives want to have, or their wives are greatly part of their like circle deliberations, but publicly it's just the male figures.
So it's almost like
Just-
their own little council, but the males are the ones that take the sort of prominence, essentially, in sort of public eye.
Yeah, and it's an act of kind of keeping in kind of like if there was any like targets they are keeping like for whatever reason they want to be the central figures, whether there's something that dangerous might occur or spitballing.
What
here.
if what if the female dragonborn, like the two males, the dragonborn and the dwarf, kind of come together and like decide to form this place, and theirs is kind of more of like a mutual survival and prosperity and that sort of thing. And what if like the female dragonborn has like, and maybe even the female dwarf, if they're both coupled, like have more of like a, hey, we can profit from it.
Ooh.
Like we can, maybe there's some like also some on the side there, I don't know that it has to become a town of like, a tourist town, but maybe there's something behind the scenes like, hey, we can take advantage of this or other, even if it's not nefarious means, but like we can make this a place for other dragonborn to come and profit off of it, even if they have good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what leads more dragonborn to come.
Sweet. Any more input from any of the things we covered in that age before we move on?
Just from mine about like the effects of the spell plague, just kind of
Yeah.
like whenever they're whenever it sort of snows or whatever, it's sort of got like a bluish, like there's a bluish aura and stuff that comes with it. It just sort of like kind of gives, it's like sort of like one of those like those phosphorescent kind of glows. Just kind of like it, like the
that's
air
cool.
kind of, like the magic, just air and all around, and it just sort of like affects the elements to a certain degree.
Can I add on top
I
of
like
that?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there are particular storms or on some of the coldest weather times of the year, when like the ice has that kind of effect, you can come across, or you might come across, I don't know what I want to call them, like icy echoes. They're small patches of ice that you can almost see like what looks like figures, like ghostly figures, almost, but it's just like if you cast detect magic, it's kind of like weird. But they're almost just echoes, like glimpses of ghostly figures of the past, but not actual ghosts.
And that's
Cool.
like within the ice?
It forms on those coldest of nights, yeah. You'll come
Okay.
across little patches of like little windows on the ground.
I dig it. That's got some nice possibility. I imagine that those those effects may or may not linger post spell plague. We can sort of decide that as we go, or maybe some of them linger and some of them don't. We can sort of see how we want to play it.
I imagine that, yeah, either being from the spell plague or like after, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Or did the spell plague break magic, or was it really just it was magic's like tearing apart the land?
I think it was that one. Sort of like just a sort of an outpouring of magic to a certain degree. That, I mean, there might have been like a siphoning as well, but because there was a spell plague too that like afflicted people, which is where I got that blue thing. Because apparently people would like in like really bad areas, people would get sick from it, could die. They would like glow blue and stuff like that.
It also may affect like things like detect magic, like maybe when it's snowing that there's magic in the snow, so like it becomes harder to identify, magic around you because it's
Right.
It's like
kind of
static.
like a haze, a magic haze on top of just a weather.
That's nifty.
Is it too twee and cheesy for the Dragonborn and Dwarf to have some element of Lan or Fro in their names?
Oh,
That actually sounds like a really cool.
Yeah,
It makes sense. Makes sense.
that is cool.
well, let's
Like-
just let's
like the
decide which one's
tribes?
which. Oh yeah, the tribes or the people.
Yes.
Or what does everybody think?
Oh, okay.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, I agree.
The originating tribes or clans or whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, because again, it just kind of helps with that sort of combining of the two. So
It was
and,
originally.
it wouldn't
two-
necessarily just be Lan and Fro, but like some variation on those that they've then portmanteaued into.
There was originally a tribe that was known as Two, but Land came in and beat them out because they couldn't accept To and Fro.
My God.
Yeesh. Are there any crickets native to this area?
Not after the spell plague.
They were killed off from the punnage.
That's a oof right there.
Okay, so now we're going to do something on the map. So we are going to take it in turns to draw a terrain feature onto the map. This is more modern day, so within the last 100 years. Now these things may come and go, but they are relatively, they can be permanent features. So it could be a little area of woodland, it could be a lake, it could be whatever you want. And what we'll do for this is we will, just so we don't get so many draws, let's just roll D100 and do it in order of that.
Which is still going to draw.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all rolling 100s?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can do a D20,
90.
but it's going to vastly make your roll more tricky. Okay. That means you're going to be first, James. So, you can decide on a terrain feature. And we can imagine this to be... we'll sort of get a sense of scale as we go, I think. Even though the road is big, the road is fairly big, mostly just because it's important to know that it's there. That doesn't have to be to scale. So if we're a bit more zoomed out, so that we have some terrain that surrounds as well as within the village, that's fine. So you can sort of say, oh, off to the north there's this, and it could be sort of on the edge of the map and essentially going off it, or it could be on the edge of the village. Obviously, if you do something right next to the road, we're going to assume that that's going to be something that impacts the village pretty directly.
I feel like I'm not a big pottery person, but like, I feel like water would be a necessity to be nearby.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe like a stream of some sort that just sort of like feeds that industry.
Yeah. Take that paintbrush and draw us on a stream, even if it's just a sort of wiggly blue line.
Freehand, just like that.
Ooh. Okay.
I would like it to look a little bit prettier, obviously, but can work on that.
Yeah, I mean, feel free once you've placed something, or once somebody's placed something, to kind of make it look prettier as other people are doing things. That's fine. All right, we are moving on to Eli, I believe. And from that placement of that stream, in my mind at least, that is definitely very much on the edge of the village, rather than going right through the middle of it.
Yeah, that was my interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ugly, so yeah.
It's getting a mind of its own.
Yeah, I'm trying to fill it in here. It's not doing things.
It's doing things. I don't know if it's things we want, but it's doing them.
Probably not. Yes.
Could there be a small chasm in between Lanfro and the Coldfield?
Oh yeah. So that would be down towards the bottom of Lanfro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you happy to attempt to start drawing that on?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay, sweet. What kind do you want to describe, do you have in mind how chasmy this chasm is?
Scale of 1 to chasm. What are we talking
Yeah. Are we talking about something you could accidentally trip over on, or something that somebody falls down and has never seen again?
That depends on the D100 result. I feel like it is aggressive, but not swallows everything that falls in. So, we'll say 30 feet deep
Okay.
at the deepest points.
All right. Sweet.
And maybe the occasional, I don't know, a deeper spot or a shallower spot. Just kind of varies.
Okay. Yeah, I dig it. How wide is it? Roughly.
I'm going to say about a
good.
James River width.
Okay.
Like the actual James River or my river?
Your river.
The James River?
So we'd say wide enough that you probably, the average person couldn't jump across it. You'd need a sort of bridge or across. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Let's move on to Spencer. Anything you want to plunk down?
So, question, and it could be related to this chasm, which is getting spikier by the minute.
Yeah.
What about something like, and this may be a bit more with the building of the civilization, but what about some sort of almost thermal well? Like something the town has maybe had to make, but maybe it's some sort of natural thing where maybe the ground gets frozen a lot, so to get water, I mean, maybe even the little stream freezes over, and so they have some sort of maybe created by dragon, magic or something that heats, so they have a working well even through all the cold.
Okay. Yeah.
That's available to the town. So I don't know, magically, if that makes sense, or maybe they go in the cavern or the chasm and find there's natural heat under the ground, so they use that. So something like
a
that.
Spring, like a hot spring or something.
Yeah, I was thinking hot spring, but more they use it for survival and not recreation, but
Yeah, we could have a hot spring. Do you want it to be over by the chasm, or do you want it to be near the middle of the village? Because, I mean, theoretically, it could be either, because part of the reason why the village has been settled a few times is because this hot spring is a source of water in difficult times. So, it
Yeah, maybe it's near the chasm, and maybe it's kind of, yeah. So maybe it's they kind of build some buildings around it or something. So maybe they find out through the chasm that there's some natural warmth underneath, and then they decide to kind of build this. So.
yeah, I dig it. That makes sense. All right, let's go to Angie. Any thoughts?
Could there be a spot where the things would be good for gathering clay?
Yep. So I guess not a quarry per se, but like almost like a clay quarry. Like an area where they, I guess where they've dug into the ground and found that it's the very, very good clay-based soil, and
Yeah.
they've sort of almost made a bit of a mine out of it, but
Yeah.
maybe without going quite that far yet. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And where would you want that based?
Where would that make the most sense?
I mean, in my brain, I'm imagining but nearer the stream than the other side.
Yeah,
but
that's
I don't
what I was
know.
wondering. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I imagine in my mind, near the chasm sounds almost more harder, rocky.
Yeah.
And that's why it's sort of split, because
Rocky,
it's
yeah.
more bristle down there, and maybe up near the stream is more softer land, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. Let me look at the map again. See what.
You can sort of describe roughly, because you got the stream there. Do you imagine it being closer to the stream than the road,
Yes.
and sort of more towards the north or more towards the south of the stream?
Maybe more towards the. Okay, there it goes. Okay, that sort of area.
Okay, nice. Yeah, somebody can sort of clay that up. That would be cool.
I think
Phil.
Eli's better at this than I was, so I'm gonna let him do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking a bit of a rise here. So like come up like this, like this, like this. Like it's just like an elevated area that's slightly raised up. And this is about as good as I can think to illustrate that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Again, which helps afford a sense of defensibility. I don't know if that's a word.
It is now. It's canon.
But it, so the stream would be sort of down at the bottom of a gentle hill, which also explains why the clay pit would be down there, because the moisture is kind of running down into that area.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just the little high point that gives you a little bit of a view down towards ultimately towards the Dragon Reach, depending on quite how hilly the rest of the way is. But yeah, something like that. Just again, so to have, I'm just thinking about where settlements usually spring up, and it's usually, you would need access to clean water, which we have. We even have the hot spring, which would definitely tend to create a, that's a good sort of center for places for people to be, and then having that then also be elevated just makes it more desirable, I think.
Yeah. No, that does make a lot of sense. I feel like we've got a good amount of stuff on there, so what I think I'm going to place something. I think I'm going to place a little area of lumber down off the side of town. It's not. I'm not imagining it being a big woods, but it's just what is often used for lumber for the village. So it's not sort of an abundant forest like up north, but it's just a little area that is chopped for trees. Or a weird pizza, but one or the other. All right, sweet.
The magnificent pizza forest.
Yeah.
Majestic.
It's what the region is now known for.
Now we've probably already somewhat leaned towards this, but what we're each going to do is I'm going to have all of you take a turn to name a resource. And what's going to happen is 2 of those resources are going to be considered abundant. 3 of those resources are going to be considered scarce. But we'll decide that once we've listed the 5. We can sort of decide between us what makes sense. So, if you want to... and I'm not going to go in any kind of order this time. If as people have an idea of a certain type of resource, you can just sort of say it. And we'll make a note of it. And then we'll work out which is which.
Or scarce something, maybe because the climate wouldn't allow otherwise, maybe around the well has, some radiating heat. So maybe they grow, herbs or something that is like, they wouldn't normally be able to have, maybe like spices or something, or something that is, not essential, but like a luxury. And because they can only grow it in that small area, maybe it has to be like rationed or something to the town.
Okay.
I don't know, something like that.
So what I'm going to do is, because we're going to decide which are scarce and which are abundant once we've listed them. But I'm going to note down.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just call it herbs and spices, and
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
I was pondering, perhaps there's coal mines for fuel for the, possibly for the, well, I would guess would they use coal for pottery kilns?
Yeah, they certainly could. Yeah. Yeah, we
They
can
could
have...
keep-
To keep them away from the forests, having to, they kind of resort to coal mining.
Okay.
Be it
so we're
through
gonna,
the fracture in the land or like
Yeah.
localized mines.
Okay. Yeah. I'm putting coal down as a resource.
I mean, going in with that too, like with the chasm, there could be some stone that we could build maybe build the houses, especially with dwarves.
Dwarves, yeah, they
Yeah.
like stone structure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm popping stone in as a resource.
I mean, like you said, it feels like the clay is kind of a given on account of it's already there.
Yeah.
Do we need to?
Yeah.
Do we need to refer to that, or is that just there?
I think because that is specifically a clay pit for that purpose, we will, for the moment, not consider that amongst. Maybe later it will become a thing. But yeah, I think for the moment that can be considered as is.
So I don't know much about clay in particular. Is there possibly like, I don't know if there could be from the spell plague effects or from any historical effects, could there be like better quality clay? Like, or does that not make much sense?
I mean, yeah, there
Or could there be like a magic, almost like infused clay?
There certainly could be.
You get a +1 clay pot. Or they could use clay in like the manufacturing of like focuses, arcane focuses, that's got like more of a natural quality to it. That could be an
Eli,
additional.
I'm gonna say bank that in your head.
As a resource, I'm going to say turquoise.
Oh.
Which would obviously be prized by the more creative members of the group.
Yeah. I dig. Angie.
Yeah, what do we all need on our spells that we might need to find in here, right? Like crystals, diamonds. Those are very abundant in these parts, you know.
How about gold?
Gold.
Yeah.
So that what'd you say?
Yes, gold.
Okay, yeah, that's a solid resource because that's also an extremely
It's a very
tradable
solid resource.
resource. Okay, so now between us, we have to decide 2 of those resources we've listed are abundant. 3 of them are currently sparse. So even though they're in the area, for whatever reason, they're hard to get to, or depending on what that resource is, they are. It's in small quantities that they're being found or whatnot. So what do we think? I know Spencer has put in a bid for herbs and spices to be one of the abundant ones. Does anybody want to argue or suggest the second abundant one?
I think it'd be fine to have those be scarce.
It would be fine to, but that doesn't mean it would be the case.
Maybe they were abundant, but now they are scarce, and nobody knows why.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, these things can change over time as well.
True,
Or
true.
it could be that they just only flourish close to the hot spring because of the...
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
thought. Is kind of it made sense with
Okay.
that they only grow around that area, so they kind of have to be,
They'd be scarcer now.
they're pretty prized. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It sounds like there's a general thing that's okay. Any arguments for any of the others being anything?
I feel like coal and stone are probably
Yeah.
those to me
make sense to be
feel abundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of was what I was thinking as well.
Agreed.
Okay, that sounded like a lot of agreement. So
Yep.
that would make turquoise and gold maybe known to be in the area, but sparse for the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think gold should be abundant. Who was that?
I think Mickey Mouse did that. That's who it was.
Oh, that sounded like him.
Alrighty, sweet.
Insulted.
Sweet. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Right?
Really?
I'm going to assume you're all actually back, and I'm going to just inform you of the slight difference for this from now on. So I'm going to continue to ask you questions, but every time I ask you a question now, I'm going to give you 2 options, and you can answer either question. You can sort of pick the one that feels more interesting to you, or more in line with where we're at, because we're kind of going through modern history now, like the last, I guess, 100 years. And I'm gonna do the question. You're gonna answer kind of as we have before, but then you're gonna have a secondary thing that you do, which is a choice between working on a project. So we're gonna be able to start projects. Sorry, I shouldn't say working on a project. I should say starting a project. So once you've answered your question, you can say, okay, I'm gonna start a project, and that is gonna be that the community feels like we need a fishing pier or something like that, for instance. And you're going to say that you're starting it, and we're going to kind of log that that's in process as time is going on, and we'll sort of decide as it goes on when it gets finished. And maybe some things won't get finished and they'll get stopped for some reason and abandoned. So yeah, one of your options is start a project. Another one is to hold a discussion. And what you can say is you effectively take on the role of a community member and argue a point. It could be something, for instance, like, we need to take care of the raids that keep happening on our town. And then somebody else can, once you start that, somebody else can jump in as another member of the community and make a counter argument. You don't resolve the argument. It's a little bit like a town meeting, essentially. What happens is people can throw in an argument, and then essentially it's left there. But the idea is that you're sort of developing this sense of what the community is wanting. So that's your second option. And then your third option is that you can discover something new. And that could be like a new thing that's popped up on the map. It could be a new situation that's happening, like, such and such has found a gold mine, or a potential gold mine over here or something. It's somewhat open to interpretation. The examples here are mangy wolves have been slinking around in the woods, or there's a broken down water wheel a mile upstream somebody might have discovered, or there's strange wailing noises from the forest at night. So you essentially just invent something into being that is noted, and then maybe that comes up later. So those are kind of your three options after you've had your go. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to roll initiative.
D20 or D100?
Let's do 100 again. 100 initiative, as it should be.
100 never gets enough love.
It doesn't.
Just
Not
saying.
D&D.
Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah, true.
Lose a hand in first combat.
And that was on a critical success.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so who have we got first? We've gone... Okay. Spencer, you've gone right in there with being at the top. So, Spencer, roll me a D10. What have we got there? 6.
6.
Okay, so you can pick either of these. The downside is that sometimes you're going to want to do both, but you're going to pick one of them. So your options are, there's a large body of water on the map. Where is it? What does it look like? Or, there's a giant man-made structure on the map. Where is it? Why is it abandoned?
Ooh, okay. Let me look at the map. So are we saying like in town?
It can...
Or could be just on the outskirts of town, or...
Exactly, one or the other. It can basically be whichever feels right. We're assuming that the town is roughly within the confines of Phil's Ridge, although it could spill over somewhat. Because I like that as like a something of an idea of where the rough edges would be.
Yeah, okay. Maybe there's towards the northwest, or maybe the northeast, because they have the woods up there.
Yeah.
Maybe the northwest. Maybe there's some sort of like a watchtower or something. That has been abandoned. From maybe back when it was a little bit more of a dangerous place. I'm trying to think of something interesting about it, maybe. I don't know. Let me think if there's anything I can add to that. But that was my first thought.
Yeah, I dig it. I was just trying to...
We kind of already have the body of water, so I think that the structure is maybe the way to go.
All right, so I'm going to plonk this on the map, if that works. And did you say it was in the woods or next to the woods?
Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe just outside kind of the outskirts of town, but kind of, where maybe you could watch over the woods.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will pop it there. I've popped a sort of square on the map to sort of indicate the watchtower. And yeah, if anything comes up with it, you can elaborate. So we're imagining.
And maybe.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Sorry, I just thought of like to go back to kind of how it fits into the town. Maybe maybe like to repair it would be costly, and so there's like a division in the town, like, do we repair it? Why? It's safe over there now. Like, that's from when. But maybe there's a faction that's like, we could still have danger, so maybe that's the
Can I make a suggestion then? Can I
Yeah.
suggest that you start a discussion as your thing, and essentially that's what you've done. So this is a good sort of example of how this works. So I think you've essentially as your secondary action, you've started a discussion, and that discussion is, hey, that abandoned watchtower on the outskirts of town, and you said, one group is saying essentially, hey, we don't need to repair that side of town is safe. And then somebody else of us would jump in and offer another opinion. And other people can jump in and offer other opinions as well. So you're sort of imagining yourself in a town meeting at this point.
Yeah, okay.
Which side of the argument would you like to argue?
Yeah, I think the natural, like the standing, the reason it's not been repaired over time is because kind of the general feeling has always been it's safe and it's a waste of precious resources that this town doesn't have. So that would kind of be the standing thought, and why it hasn't been repaired up to now.
Okay. Would anybody want to jump in and dispute that as another townsperson?
I'm gonna say that we need to tear this thing down and build it back better. It was made from wood before. we need to use it as a dwarf. We need to enforce it with stone.
Nice.
Reinforce it with like fully stone tower.
And I imagine maybe the faction that is not for it or want status quo to stay is maybe like the business, maybe the businessmen of the town, or maybe there's, the people that designate tax funds. They're the ones that don't want to do it.
Yeah. And you're
kind of be leaning towards saving the money for something.
That is a good point.
Else.
When you start a discussion, if you have somebody specific in your mind who would be arguing that point, that's definitely a good thing to mention. Depending on how in character you want to get, you can sort of describe them like that, or you could embody the character and say, well, as the such and such, I think this. But you can also just say who they are as well.
As the comptroller,
yeah.
I feel like.
Okay, sweet. We'll leave that one there for the moment, and that's obviously a point of contention between some people, and we will go to the next question because I like that. We are going to go to James. Roll me a D10. It is James, right? If I pick the wrong person, just remind me.
Well, I'm rolling it, and it's a 10.
Ooh, exciting. All right. Okay, yeah, these are interesting options. So, your questions are, what is the most plentiful source of food and how is it gathered? Or you can answer, how do the villagers protect themselves?
How they would protect themselves. I think it would kind of go into part of the discussion with the tower in general, but being up on a hill, I would envision maybe a slight palisade of some sort, maybe around the town. Nothing, or maybe even just a fence more than even a palisade, just to kind of like slow people down. Nothing major. But that could be part of the reason why some people are like, well, we really need to work on this watchtower, because that could really support that, so we don't have to make a furthered point of, like, a wall. But the watchtower could help us inform us of dangers as they come. So.
Okay,
So yeah,
sweet.
say like a small fence, low
So
palisade
fence
type
lines the ridge. Okay. And would you like to start a project, start a discussion, or discover something?
In relation to or different or
It honestly, it doesn't have to relate to it at all. It can be, you can be like, yeah, so they have this fence that surrounds them, and over there randomly is a really nice apple tree. I mean, that's it has to be. It can be as related or as unrelated as you like. I think sometimes stuff will. Sometimes you may just want to be like, this village doesn't have such and such. I mean, I'm sort of imagining right now, as the village is beginning to build, there's a few scattered houses in the middle. We can just imagine that.
Right.
Now, it may be that people decide that certain projects could be starting on a specific main key building or whatever, that kind of thing. Projects could be clearing out something, or, that can be anything. But yeah, that doesn't have to relate to what's happened before, but it also can.
I think I'll start a project. So at what point, this is sort of like the formation of the town, though, right? That realm.
Yeah,
A
the
little
town
bit.
is beginning to essentially get settled over this period.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there people have come in. We're still very much loosey goosey right now. Maybe we'll develop as we go along who and what is here at this moment. But yeah.
I mean, I would say something to start as a project would be, really forming sort of a bit of a trade hub to kind of, if the clay pottery industry is already starting, just a way to actually really market that, and for people who are passing through to really implement that sort of thing. So
almost
one
the
of the
beginning
big
of a market of sorts.
yeah.
So we'll just assume that has been started work on. Do you have an imagining of where?
It's basically the center of town.
Okay. Then I should. Oh, that's tiny, but it's fine. All right. So next it is. Am I saying that that's you, Phil? Next.
Yeah, I was 80.
Okay, roll me a d10. All right.
Lieben.
Oh, sweet. Okay. This is an interesting question. Or questions. So, your question is, what's the most beautiful thing in this area? Or, what is the most hideous thing in this area?
I'm going to say that there is let's say on the sort of west-northwest corner of the ridge.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can draw it in.
Yeah, always, everybody should feel welcome to draw stuff on as they mention it.
There is, jutting out of the ground, a large ice spike that, despite many attempts to melt it and smash it, has resisted. It just remains there through summer, refusing to leave. Clearly ice, it's cold and slightly damp to the touch. And when you get close, it creates like a shudder. So it's not a very popular area to live near.
So we're calling this hideous.
This is very much hideous.
Do they
Is
call
there
it
ever-
anything? Do they say, hey, don't go near the such and such? I mean, maybe they just say ice spike, but I don't know if they've given it a name.
There is a name, and I will tell you it when I know it.
That works. I dig that.
Roots. There we go.
All right, and answer me this. Do you want to project, discuss, or discover?
Let's get another project going. Because I think this one's going to be important. It's a fairly small project, but really what I'm envisaging is establishing basically. So, and I think this potentially leads to a discussion down the road for someone else to pick up. But the project here is establishing an area around the hot spring that both protects the herbs that have value, while also creating access to the hot spring. So
Okay.
there needs to be like an area of clearance around that's protecting the green space while creating a safe access. I don't know if the hot spring is necessarily on the surface or if there's like an entrance to a cave where it is. But either way, there needs to be some way to access it safely without damaging the surrounding area. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And because both of those are kind of important to the nature of this, whether the herbs are for food or medicinal, they're valuable either way, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, they're striking the balance between these two important resources. And there needs to
Alright,
be something that manages that.
For want of a better name, I've called it herb garden, but that's just to describe the area. What they're trying to. It's just what I'm calling it for now. But yeah, I know what you're saying. The sort of cultivation and protection of the area to maintain that.
Yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, I am going to move on to looks like Eli. Roll me a d10 and we'll just hope for the best. Oh, you guys are doing good. All right.
We try. We really do.
All right, so your question is the people of the town see a good omen, what is it? Or the people of the town see a bad omen, what is it? Something occurs or is seen.
Let's play off of the ice spike.
Uh-huh.
Recently, a young dragonborn did not follow any of the town recommendations or guidelines. They ventured close to the ice spike, and this is the first case of somebody falling ill within its vicinity, not dying, but seemingly permanently weakened by it. And it was further out than the normal proximity.
So I'm assuming this is a bad omen.
No, it's a good omen. Nobody liked the kid. No. It was bad.
All right, so what would you like to do? Would you like to start a project, a discussion, or discover something?
This town is this currently populated by the residents that we sort of discussed, Dragonborn, like dominant Dragonborn and Dwarf? Or is
so
that
I would say there's definitely a presence of
there
both.
was a history of it?
What the, I would also assume, I would not limit yourself to thinking this is just a town of Dragonborn and Dwarfs. Others could have come in the meantime. It's been, we're at the sort of the beginning of it really forming, but people others could have shown up, and some could, get smaller in population.
I kind of want to play off of the history with this when this town kind of like was formed early on, project wise. There is peat moss in the area, either down by the bogs, marshes. Could be
Scotch.
You're definitely where I'm heading with this. So either from like, yeah, if it's from Dragon's Reach, there's a whiskey that is made from the local peat moss, and it is heavily designed in a dwarven dragonborn collaboration. It is
Okay.
extra smoky in flavor and notes. One of my personal favorite Scotch whiskies is Lafroy, and I was thinking, well, this could be Landfroy. Not unless there's copyright issues, of course. Then we can just go to Dragon's Breath, maybe.
And so is the project set up like almost a distillery type situation?
Yes, that was like a secondary. Like the clay is a well-known thing here, but they're also early on they had dealings in their local whiskeys that they would distill here.
And I'm assuming, correct me if this sounds like not what you want, that would probably be on the west side of town, closer towards that area. Because the Dragon Reach is on
Or
to the west.
East. Is it
Yes,
west
you're
or
right.
east?
East. No, you're totally right. I just can never remember east and west.
I always have to do never eat soggy
right?
waffles. To the east, yes.
So what you can do for me is just type on the word distillery, where on the map you want that to be sort of started as a thing.
How far east is the Reach?
I don't remember. I mean, it's quite a way because we're a bit more inland. So what I imagine is that they do have to travel to get the resources needed, and then maybe they bring it back to the distillery, but they put it on more towards the east side of town, or even just on the outskirts of town, to do the process of it and sell it.
Yeah, we'll put it. Okay, here we go.
It looks like New Villar, Haredale Town, whatever you want to call it.
That's a port, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah, it's about 25, 30 miles based on that map. So that's about how far we are from the Dragon Reach.
Okay. And maybe it makes more sense there to be a local. I don't know, like if it has, like it could be a stream or split off from the Reach.
I mean, I'm happy with the idea that they travel out there to get it. I can imagine dwarfs being stubborn enough to be like, we're going to travel 30 miles to get what we need and bring it back in a car and to process it in our town.
Maybe some Rothe, like
Rothe
carriages.
carts. Yep. Let's have roll me a d6, Angie, because that will somewhat squeeze in the options. Okay, yeah, I like this. Your question is, what important and basic tools does the community lack? Or, where are you storing your food, and why is this a risky place to store things?
I kind of like what basic tools, important and basic tools does the community lack? Well, I was thinking it would be interesting to have it so that it's difficult for them to even make tools. Because we haven't mentioned any smithies or the ability to collect any kind of, ability to make steel. Or have access to iron or anything. So I would wonder if just even trying to have the resources to have some basic tools is.
So I guess any tools that would require metal, essentially.
Yeah. Correct.
They are struggling with.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of possibilities. So yeah, metal.
And I feel like this would be a huge thing with the dwarves.
Next question would be, do you want to start a project, start a discussion, or discover something?
A discussion. Okay, so it would be one of the dwarves who's responsible for carting it, helping or trying to cart in materials to be able to make tools. They have to travel quite a distance to get it, and there's not many of them who do it. So it would be an argument that this might be more of a higher up on the priority list than worrying about rebuilding the tower.
Yeah, I'll speak up. So this is one of the Dragonborn, more business-minded folk says. If we focus our efforts on building the market, people traveling through will stop here and bring the goods to us, and we can buy those resources off them rather than you having to go and bring them here. Others will come and bring it to us. We just need to have that marketplace established so people know that they can come and trade here.
All right. I think what we'll do is after this round, what I'm going to essentially do is have us roll on those 3 projects and see, before it moves into the next little era, whether those came to fruition or if they kind of stalled and they were partially done, or if they failed for whatever reason. And I'm probably going to sort of internally percentile those out in my head, and then we'll roll on it to see. Who suggested the market?
I did.
You did. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to have you make a D100 roll, and I will let you know where that project stands.
70.
70? Okay, you just tipped into that getting completed. So I guess it sounds like, to some degree, the force behind, well, if we get the market, we can just trade it in. Maybe that faction won out in the situation, so the market is now established. It might still be small, but it's established. The herb protection, that was you, Phil, wasn't it?
See.
Let's see.
38.
Okay, that is good. That got completed as well. Again, that's actually very close to stalling. So those 2 projects did get finished to the satisfaction of the current crop of the current generation, essentially. So that is now being protected. And then the distillery, I think, was Eli, right?
18.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that rolling on the lower side is generally good. The market had a high percentage for success. So James rolled exactly the number he needed just to put that into success. You easily cleared it with a distillery, so that distillery does now is up and running, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
So,
A town full of dwarves, of course it is.
Yeah,
well,
booze is
we're
more
historically
important than
dwarves.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love games we roll low. I'm so much better at them.
Yeah, but when I succeeded with 38, I was like, oh, we're doing the low side. Got it.
Yeah.
Because I was
yeah.
like, I don't think that's happening. But yeah. That makes
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're moving on a little bit now in history. I will keep going with this initiative, which means it is back to James. Roll me a D15. That's not a thing. Roll me a D. What is a thing? A D12.
You can roll a D. You can roll a D15 and
roll
roll
D15.
20. Yeah.
Oh, can you?
Yep. You can
I
roll
don't
any
think it'll
D.
put a dice up there or not, but
Let's see.
You roll me whatever you want to roll.
How
I just rolled a
about?
D77.
I'm not sure how to do that. Let's see. 4.
That's a good roll. All
Thank you,
right.
Eli.
We're continuing the modern history thing, right?
Yeah, essentially we're in modern history, but we've moved much closer to the current day. We're not at the current day, but this is much closer.
Okay.
Within a few years, probably. Maybe if it was in human terms, it would be the generation or generation before the current generation.
Okay.
So for you, a disease spreads through the community. What is it? Or a natural disaster strikes the area. What is it?
Oh boy. Think. I think I want to go with the disease,
Okay.
and I will think about what kind of disease.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. To have a little think. And are you able to do your project discussion or discover something real quick?
While he briefly thinks of that,
Yeah.
I'll let you know that the ice shard is now
Yeah.
known as Sang.
Write that in the chat. Oh, or you can just tell me. Yeah.
SVANG. Originally it was called the Ice Fang, and over time it just sort of slipped into.
The Gen Z took over and just shortened it.
Yeah.
Do you want
people
to
get lazy with it?
Do you want to title that on the map? Just put a little label
shall.
next to it.
Yes.
Nice.
I was just typing something else.
Yeah, I
and
know
my
you're doing a
brain
lot
went
of
dead.
minutes taking. I don't know if everybody's seeing it, but Phil has been listing everything that's happening in the Discord.
And very well at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say in the discovery is that in the forest nearby, lately there's been an uptick of wild boar activity.
Ah, I like it.
This is a discovery.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know what uptick in boar activity means.
Yes. And I'm still thinking about the plague.
Okay. Well, it's good to have something to think about.
Yeah. Right?
Spencer, roll me a D15 or whatever. Whatever you feel like. It could be a D12. That would work.
Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. 10.
Sweet. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. I mean, they're all potentially interesting. It just depends the spin you put on them. So, your questions are, this is a time for production and tending to the earth. Start a project related to food production. Or, this is a time for conquest and the gathering of might. Start a project related to military readiness. So, essentially, you're starting a free project here. Just depends what you fancy it being.
Okay. What if there's a body discovered?
I like it.
Like by the woods, in the woods, whatever. That kind of corresponds to the increase in boar activity. But is that the actual cause of death, or is it not?
Oh,
maybe it's a traveler that was coming, so nobody knows.
Is this was that essentially your discovery?
That I'm thinking that's the discovery,
Gotcha.
and then that leads into maybe not gathering of might like this huge, militia, but maybe they've had a time of peace for so long that now maybe they're rethinking like, oh, we don't really have maybe a standing army, or maybe we haven't moved out into the and explored the woods in so long because we've got comfortable where we're at, that they're starting to form something together that they're going to have to look into addressing, or some of the people are calling for that.
So essentially the sort of start of a I don't know if militia is the right word, but
yeah,
but that
some
kind
sort
of
of
like a small force of people.
Yeah,
that
maybe
can...
a group of rangers, maybe like not so much like meant for battle, but meant for kind of patrolling the area that hasn't been done in maybe a little while.
By the way, if you come up with a name for that band of rangers, let me know if anything drops into your head.
Oh, okay. Like the Bardors or something like that?
Yeah.
Dwarf Rangers? Okay.
Famous for jumping off of wagons.
The
Before
flying
they
Bardors.
They just bring stools around so they can jump onto their enemy.
Yeah, if you ever sort of bring a person or a group or a place into being that you have a name for, or you feel like coming up with a name for, that can happen at any point. You can just say, hey, that dude that I wandered into town, he's, you know, I shard Bill or whatever. 7. All right, so
Angie, you can still name your Goliath.
My Goliath.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
if you
not
ever-
good
if
at,
you
I'm
ever
not good at
decided you
naming
wanted to.
things. So if somebody else has a good name in mind, they should.
I'm slightly concerned at the moment. He's I Shard Bill.
As legends tell, Ice Shard Bill came forth and battled the Lich King.
Okay. So
That's
Phil,
currently canon, just so we know. I've updated that.
in
yeah.
preparation. You don't have a choice, but yours is quite big. In preparation for the coming years, the community begins a huge undertaking, our project.
I'm going to say, in reaction to concerns about the safety of the woods and the safety of the Harrow ride, the village builds or begins construction
Mm-hmm.
on an aqueduct to bring water directly from the stream into the center of the village, so that they're not reliant.
I have a idea for this plague.
Sure.
They call it the web malaise. So
Ooh.
it starts off, you get really tired. That's basically like there's two things with it. You just start off tired, you get and continue to get tired and weak, point where you're like bedridden. And as you like kind of fall into, I guess, sort of a coma, and you're still breathing, and in theory you're still alive, or people think you are, but you start to grow like webs, and like you almost kind of go into a cocoon. But it's not like a full cocoon, sort of like, you know what, like if you've ever watched any of the Alien movies and sort of like the way that they are in that, where it's like they're sort of entombed, but slightly, you know, still can move, in theory, move a little bit. Not that these people are moving, but sort of like that. So it's not a full cocoon, but it's like, you know, webs start to just kind of form around them, sort of like it's, you know, the sedentary nature. That's
Nice.
That's kind of what's going on.
Sweet. The web malaise.
Nice. Creepy.
Very.
Speaking of creepy, Phil, what's your thing? Project discussion or discovery?
Oh, I get a second part.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't realize that. That's why I hadn't said anything else. I will start a discussion based on the web malaise, because that's super freaky and I dig it.
Okay.
So, this will just be one of the let's say this is a halfling mother in the community, and she says that she's concerned because the web malaise seems to be affecting halflings at a more significant rate, and she wants the leaders to reach out to local, or you know, reach out to the nearby towns and cities to find more advanced healers to help remedy the situation.
Okay. Is there any swing from anyone else?
Nobody cares about it.
I imagine it's a Dragonborn that said that.
I'll happily document it because I think it's funny. And actually, it's important. But yes, who would you like to have said that? Because that's interesting.
I mean, it can be Dragonborn, but yeah, I can imagine there'd be some people who they're like, oh, that's like a, if it's
That's a them problem.
yeah, if it's a localized to a certain race or element of society, then it could be seen as something like oh well, that means that they're bad people, they're doing the wrong things. There's just sort of like a stereotype that comes with it type thing of like, of course, halflings would have that issue or something along. And it could be, it doesn't necessarily have to be just Dragonborn. It could be like other races who are like just look down on halflings in this area. They're just like, ugh, they're dirty. Something like that.
Got it.
A concerned townsperson would make it not trying to outcast the halflings, but propose that a distance is kept from them. They understand that they're, a part of the town, but if they're more susceptible, they kind of view them as more of a potential carrier.
So like a bit of like maybe like a sort of a ghetto is formed to a certain degree. Is it like that
Or at least
level?
Suggested, yeah.
When it comes to the discussions, it's very much sort of put out there to float.
So that's the discussion. Like they should be in their own area. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's a ghetto. It just that's what this.
But it's more of a like a quarantine almost for
Yeah.
for them. Like they're still part of the town, but it's like don't come into our don't leave and risk other people. You're more contagious, and there might even be backlash.
Eli, roll for me.
Number?
Yep, roll me a number.
21.
Okay. All right, so you've got a couple of different options here. Harvest is here and plentiful. Add an abundance. Or cold autumn winds drive out your enemies. Remove a threatening force from the map and the area.
We will go with the cold autumn winds. Driving out a threatening force.
Okay.
So we've established that there are boars here,
Yeah.
but we'll say that for whatever reason the boars are not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
But the normal like wolves in the woods, their presence seems to be vastly diminished.
Okay. I mean, depending on how we look at it, you could even argue that maybe that's the reason why the boars proliferate somewhat.
True, actually. No natural predators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. I dig that. Do you want to do a project to discussion or a discovery?
I want to go with a discovery, actually.
Yeah.
And so with the at least with the wolves out, a halfling druid has been able to roam the forests a little differently, and is working on finding certain types of mushrooms that grow under very specific conditions, or has discovered certain types of mushrooms that, when combined with other herbs, create a we'll say like a salve that can be applied to affect the web malaise.
Mm-hmm.
Some people it heals, some people it just slows it down, but it's a step in a direction.
Sweet.
And he is very concerned about his people, obviously.
Yes. Is he a local, or did he pass through and decide to stop and help?
He passed through. Yeah.
Okay, I dig it.
We'll call him Barnabas Tumblefoot.
Angie, roll me a number. A D12 would be great, but if you want to do something crazy, go for it. A D100. Okay, I'm going to apply division on that. Someone leaves the community after issuing a dire warning. Who? What is the warning? Or someone issues a dire warning and the community leaps into action to avoid disaster. What is the warning? Start a contentious project that relates to it.
Ooh, it's loaded.
Yeah.
While you're thinking, I'm going to put the, just thought of, I'm going to keep it simple. So I think the Rangers are going to be called the Talons.
Oh, nice.
And then, like, the Guard is, like, called the Scales. And so maybe, like, the Talons have kind of fallen off. Like, they still have the town guard, which is, like, the Scales, and they're meant to protect. They're kind of heavily armored city guards.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're talking about reforming, like, this Talon group that actually goes out and is more ranger than kind of fighter or that sort of thing. And that it kind of doesn't exist. Maybe there's a couple people in town that like have those skills, but it's not. It's aged out, and they're talking about forming.
Okay. Yeah, I dig it.
Okay, so there's going to be an old, probably like 70, well, or 70-year-old and humid year equivalent.
Uh-huh.
That, let's see, what race would they be? I'm going to say a dwarf cleric
Okay.
who issues a warning there's evil and the gods have been upset and they need to sort themselves out to the town before leaving.
Oh, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was passing through. So he wasn't a resident, but he was passing through, recognized and stayed for a bit, recognized what all the chaos that's beginning to happen. And he's not sure what exactly is going on, but he knows that something weird's going on because as he's been traveling, he's not kind of been in this sort of environment that seems like it's amping up towards something bad. And now with everybody falling ill, he wants to get out. So he feels there's been some disruption and it must be the gods because he's
And does he feel that the disease is almost as a result of the gods being angry at them? Like
Yes.
it's sent by the gods almost?
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. And do you want to discuss, or... Oh, or start a project?
A less religious dragonborn would kind of reply to the cleric as just kind of brushing him off and saying clearly this is something magical and not having anything to do with the gods. So he'll start that discussion.
Okay, does anybody want to kick in?
Why is there so much hate around?
The people are afraid.
There's something brewing. There's so much suspicion, and things are tearing. This is my discussion point. It's like, why is there so much dissension and everybody arguing so much?
Mm-hmm.
There's there's a lot of stuff that's popping up, and we used to be a community that got together, and now everybody's pointing fingers at each other and saying, well, this is your fault and this is your problem.
I like it.
I don't know if like some blame or something could be on the Svang, and we need to destroy that. That is the source of the plague on this town.
I like. Okay, cool. I think that's a good open discussion. Okay, I think we're sort of hitting towards the finality endpoint for everybody. So real quick, last thing before we go, not a question, but more everybody can think of a building or landmark that they want to put on the map, and everybody can essentially call out one of each. And this is just to help sort of give a little bit of spacing to how the village would be set up. And I'm not going to have you do it in order. It's just in whatever order anybody comes up with anything that they think, oh, we should have, the village should have this, it goes here. And this is just to get some final placement.
Does it, so do we want, like, a physical structure? Does it have to be a building that, like, people live in, or can it be something?
It could be...
I guess we've kind of already put structures on.
We're sort of imagining that houses are sort of dotted around. This would be more sort of... I mean, if there was a specific something kind of house or whatnot, but it could be anything from specific community buildings to... like a merchant or an inn or maybe you could even use it to place little landmarks, like almost a bit like the watchtower. You could have stuff like that, like it could be even like, oh, there's a cave on this side of the town or whatnot. It's just like a few last drop things just to give the village a little bit of form.
So I'm thinking
we have the market, and I'm going to say that the aqueduct is we're not sure if that completes or not, but it's definitely in progress. So it's anything you want to add to that for final.
So
sorry, go ahead, James.
No, it's okay. Like something near blue, apparently, but I don't. That's probably way too big. But anyway, just in like sort of the middle of the town, because with the discussions that have been going on. Possibly, like, instead of it being like the like the leaders of the two clans that came together, but now it's a little bit more sort of communal, and there's like a discussion point, sort of like a town hall, but it's sort of like a meeting place, sort of like within Anglo-Saxon times, whenever like different folks would get together and just sort of like air their complaints in a mead hall or something along those lines. So it's like a place where they can do feasts, but also just generally whenever the town gets together and just yells at each other, like in Blazing Saddles, whenever they say Gabby Johnson's right. So something like that.
Sweet, that's good. I like it.
I was thinking, like, and maybe two things, or if one of these is better, but up by the stream, have some sort of either, mill or something that runs off the power, be somewhere where lumber is delivered from up north in the woods and cut and brought down, and then maybe even something that goes out east to the main body of water or trade or something like that. Maybe just some sort of ferry that gets them to the body of water. Something... a handful of buildings up here, maybe a fishery or something.
Okay. So like a little.
So they can use that water effectively.
Yeah. So maybe a place where boats can stop off and drop off wares and take wares downriver and stuff, and where some of the industries might base themselves and whatnot that were related. Okay. Yeah. Boy.
And what about? What do you guys think about moving the watchtower there?
Like a little further up, like sort of up here.
Yeah, right. Like so.
So it's still on the edge.
Maybe that's, maybe because that's a hub. That's why the watchtower is, under discussion, or has been in previous generations and has never, really been addressed.
So it's almost like do we rebuild it to help guard this, or do we move it out of the way so that we can continue expanding our industry?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
a good
that
idea.
does make sense. Draw me an outline of the little industrial park, for want
Okay.
of a better word.
this is my specialty.
I've got a proposition.
Yeah, go for it.
Like a statue of the founding either figures or like clan representation, something kind of in the smack middle of the road.
Okay, yeah.
Big ornate when you're passing through. It's almost like you have to go around it, either left or to the right. And then off from that would be like the initial, the long-standing structure of whoever is now like the current running mayor of the town, or whoever's in charge, kind of their residence.
Oh, so like beside it would be like the the leader's house, essentially.
Yeah. And immaculately crafted from the materials. You'd probably have the rare metals, like it would have gold and dwarven crafted stone. The Dragonborn artisans would have put their like meticulous work into it, be it with the what was the gems that they were finding in the rare gems in the area.
Oh, turquoise.
Turquoise, yeah.
So like just off to the side of it.
Yeah, I was thinking, across from the town hall.
Sweet.
Did I need to bring back up that clay that we talked about earlier? Magic clay, whatever. Or does it matter?
No, I mean, it can just be floating as a thought.
Okay.
So that would have been one of the things that you could have brought up as a discovery or something, had we
True.
run longer. But I will keep it in my brain as a potential little sideline.
Not too late.
We'll have it as an extra little discovery.
Yeah, it's like too bad.
I mean, I would. If it wasn't for the fact we'd already been doing it for so long, I mean, you could essentially do this forever, couldn't you? Because there's so many possibilities. And it's really fun how it kind of builds on itself.
Yeah, most messed up town ever.
As for something that there's a little thing that's being put in there, I'm thinking like an All Faith shrine near the hot spring area, because I could see that, because it's like a little what do you call it, like a little area of sort of natural beauty there too. I could see that being good for those who are kind of into nature and stuff. So a little All Faith shrine that, and I could see this being a fairly tolerant, religiously tolerant place, because it's quite a diverse area. So, I while it may be that people don't necessarily openly talk about worshipping those various gods that have like a bit of a black cloud around them, I think I like the idea of there still being a space for any kind of worship in the shrine, as long as it's respectful and stuff.
Yeah, I dig that. North, south, east, or west?
Let's go. Let's say west of the springs.
I think that just leaves Angie to have her final say on a thing we need.
I don't know. I was going to do what James did.
Add to it. Give it some cool racing stripes.
I could just do something like that, couldn't I? At the entrance to the town hall, after the founding clans, there's going to be a column that has like a dragonborn carved into it, and then a column that has a dwarf carved into it.
Okay.
That's cool.
And that's my contribution.
Okay. Sweet. And I'm gonna, if you can disagree if you want, I'm gonna imagine that because the statue in the middle of the road is of the dwarf and dragonborn founders, that this is going to be more as a spirit of community. These are going to be more nondescript and not modeled after anybody.
That's right.
It's just representative of we have dwarfs and dragonborn coming together, and it represents both. Is that
Yes.
reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. We have made Lanthro. It will be something akin to this when we play our game. I guess we'll see how things have developed. Some stuff may have changed a little bit. Some stuff may be exactly as we left it, but we've essentially built it a history and given the area a history. And I think you guys did a good job of that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's got a
Yeah,
lot
this is
of
a cool
character to
process.
build on. You've given me a lot of potential here. If we cut in right as at the end of our discussions, it's in a very contentious place. That's for sure.
We should just make it, every weekend we hop on and we design some town in some obscure part of Faerun, and that can be our new product that we can put out there for all of our adoring fans.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We switched from doing like actual play to just releasing content.
Right.
books.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
like, here's a new town you can pay us to download.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing about this, I feel like, is we could do the same thing next week in a different area and make a completely different town and history and design. And I think that's what's fun about it, is like, I came with no preconceptions of what this village would contain. And you've essentially given it a history and populated it and given it issues and landmarks and weird
is
magical
we
stuff.
just did your job for you, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, I thought it would be interesting for you guys to play in a town that you like, to walk into something that you had a hand in. I thought that'd be an interesting twist.
What have we done?
I know, right? It's just, it's like we designed the playground and now we get to go play in it.
Yeah, exactly.